Dr. Zack Mazone, and welcome to Dayspring Integrative Wellness. We are a wellness clinic here in Bath, Maine, and today we're going to talk about some recipes for eating for physical sight and for spiritual insight. So tell us a little bit about our clinic here in Bath, Kim.
I'm Kim Mazone. I have the pleasure of serving here with my husband, Dr. Zack, and a wonderful team that God has brought together to minister here at Dayspring Integrative Wellness. We have a variety of services that we offer to the community as well as to our patients. We do direct integrative primary care based on lifestyle medicine and the 8 natural health laws. And we also do consultations for people who want to come and to learn more about health. In addition to that, we have a wonderful team that offers hydrotherapy, massage therapy. We do IV therapies. We have a couple of saunas and some other services. You can check out our website, dayspringintegrativewellness.com. We are also very excited that Dr. Lee Wellard, who is a naturopathic doctor and herbalist, is in the process of joining our team as well. So we just thank God for the opportunities that we have to share the wonderful message of health.
So now, before I was a doctor, I was actually a pilot, and so vision was very important to me. And I don't know about you, but vision is probably important to you as well. So whether you're a little older and trying to get your vision back or younger and trying to maintain your vision, we're going to do some cooking today with some special foods that are designed to be able to help you maintain your vision. And this might give us some insight on some spiritual things that we should consider as well. So why don't we get started?
The first thing that we're going to demonstrate tonight is a berry parfait. This is an easy dish to make that can be made ahead, so you can have it ready for breakfast, or it's even a wonderful light dinner that sometimes we have enjoyed. And this is a great time of year because certainly strawberries are in the process of being picked right now. And already on our berry bushes at home, we have blueberries that are starting to get a little bit blue. We have blackberries that are coming out on the bushes and some raspberries. So it's a wonderful time, whether it's coming into your own garden or finding some of these things in your local farmer's market. So for our parfait, we start with some granola. And I like to recommend that you find a granola that does not have added sugar. And we also try to avoid canola oil, which is sometimes hard to find in prepared granolas.
It is. So we wanted to use some granola. We actually believe in using local too. So as we're starting today, this is a granola from Little Lads, which is a company here in Maine. They do a fantastic job of getting local foods and making sure that they've got organic grains in there. And this brings us to our first point today that I think is really important to talk about. If you want to have good vision, you've got to start with fresh food, and you've got to have a good attitude to go towards it. So before we get started with this great food, I'm going to have a small prayer because we're going to go to the source first, and then we're going to start. Pray with me, please. Father, today, thank you for the beautiful food that you have prepared for us to be able to eat. Thank you for the fact that it's nourishing, that it's wholesome, and for the lessons that you want us to learn. We need to pick it fresh, we need to eat it fresh, and we need to be able to have the vibrance of it. As we cook and prepare today, prepare our hearts to be able to hear you and to see you, and to be able to do this in unity together. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Zach.
So Kim brought up a good point. As we're getting the granola, I wanted to bring up another point about this, that it's really important to get your food fresh. That's one of the key elements of any healthy diet. And if you want to have good vision, you've got to go ahead and pick it fresh. You'll notice some of the colors here. And that's wonderful because you'll notice colors do certain things. So we'll start with the granola, and then when we get to the blueberries and blackberries and the raspberries, I'm going to have a few tips about vision.
Okay. So I like to use a small canning jar. It's easy to put a lid on, and like I said, put this in the fridge the night before to prepare for breakfast or to have ready. So we'll start with the granola, and this granola is so wonderful because it used dates and pineapple juice for the sweetener. It also has plenty of nuts and seeds involved as well. And you should have recipes available online from the conference office, but I'm using some approximate measures here. So I have about a cup of granola. Then we're going to add some vegan yogurt. I particularly like to use the Forager cashew yogurt. You can find this in the health food stores, but also you can get this at Shaw's or at Hannaford's in the yogurt section. This is unsweetened, just unsweetened plain, and it's organic. So we'll add a layer of yogurt here. Next comes some berry sauce. This sauce was made by taking a couple of dried pineapple rings. I used just 2 of them. This will make enough sauce for probably 2 parfait jars. And then I used some frozen raspberries and put those in a blender, poured the mixture in and left it overnight in the refrigerator. This allows the berry juice as it starts to thaw to soften up the pineapple.
Absolutely. And it's just fruit juice sweetened, which is nice. So about this size, you can get this in the health food stores, right? You just want pineapple, just dried.
If you don't have time to leave something overnight, even just a few hours sitting out as the berries will soften up the pineapple. Then you're just going to whiz that in your blender, and it makes this wonderful, delectable berry sauce. And I love this sauce because it can be used for a number of things. You can certainly put it in this dish, but it's also really good even spread on some whole grain toast or put as a topping on oatmeal or on your granola. Pancakes or waffles. And there's no extra added sugar, which is really wonderful. Okay, next we're going to start adding our berries. I've got some blueberries here that we'll put in. And we'll put some blackberries as well. And then I'm just going to layer these things up while you share a little bit about the benefits of the berries.
So a wonderful thing about berries is they are colored in such a way to help us to understand a few things. This dark purple color, and you see it in the dark purple in the blackberries, you see it in the blueberries, right? It should be purple berries, but they're blueberries, right? And we see it also in some of the reds. There's a flavonoid in there called anthocyanin. And what that does is it helps with visual acuity. Now, there's a story that was actually told from pilots back in World War II that they used these for pilots in England so that they could help see better, and that the pilots reported that they could see better. And it turns out that science then kind of later confirmed that these anthocyanins in here really help with visual acuity. Now, when I talk about visual acuity, we're talking about your ability to see something clearly, right? So you want these, and you want to be able to use them on a routine basis. Now, blueberries are in season, we understand, just once a year. But what you can do is if you go pick, and you can do that as a family activity, you can bring all these blueberries in, and then you can freeze them, and then you can use them through the year for something like this, especially if you have to go quickly in the morning. It's nice to have something prepared at night. Now, so for visual acuity, we want to think about the spiritual context of this too. You know, if you remember, originally in the Bible, prophets were called seers. They could see, right? They could see what was going to happen. Why? Because God wanted to share what was going to happen. And so they could see clearly. And we're told that God does nothing without telling his prophets first what's going to happen. So if we want to see clearly spiritually, we have to go to the source, right? We have to make sure that we're seeing clearly, and we have to feed on that while it's fresh. You don't want to get somebody else's blueberries, right? They might get frustrated if you're picking on their bushes. And as Kim mentioned, we're going to talk about here in a little bit, you want to make sure that they're organic, and we'll talk about why in just a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to finish layering this up here with a few of these ingredients.
I'm going to help to start, make sure the blueberries are okay.
Okay. And then we'll finish up by putting a few of the berries on top as a lovely garnish. And with 4th of July being this weekend as well, it's nice to have some red, white, and blue.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Good.
So we have our breakfast parfait.
So it's important with your food, make it fun. Sometimes people, I just had a patient today tell me, you know, I'm trying this vegetarian diet, I feel better, but I'm doing the same things. So get creative in what you're going to do. And we're told where there's a lack of vision, the people kind of fail. They don't see as well. So you can get creative with new ideas, talk to different people, or come see us here and we'll help you out a little bit. So this has always been perplexing for me. Now, I grew up Italian, so I had eggplant, but what do you do with an eggplant and how do you cook it? It's certainly beautiful. Remember the color, the purple that we talked about for helping your vision. But Kim, how are we going to prepare this?
Well, it's pretty simple. We're going to make an eggplant sauce that is pretty versatile. And the first thing we're going to do, this has already been washed earlier. I'm going to just cut off the ends. Put those aside. And then I'm going to cut it down the middle. And we'll cut it again here, because we're going to cube this. And I like to leave the skin on. It will soften up as it's cooking, because that's where all the good vitamins are that Zack mentioned are needed for your eyesight. The flavonoids.
That's right. Don't get rid of your flavonoids.
Okay, so we're just going to quickly cube this up here.
So a lot of people won't do eggplant because they don't know how to prepare it. I'll tell you, with the recipe today, we actually tried it out for lunch, and it was pretty wonderful.
Okay.
Now, Kim, how easy are eggplants to grow in your garden?
You know, they're not too hard to grow. The big thing is that there are certain times of the year when you have certain pests that love to eat on them. Right now I'm in the process of daily picking off Colorado potato beetles off of my potatoes, and they seem to like the eggplants too. So I guess in that nightshade family, they're pretty happy. But we try to keep them off there. Other than that, they're not too hard to grow.
Trying to send them back to Colorado.
That's right. We'd like to, huh?
Actually, Colorado may be something here.
Okay, so we've got the eggplant cube. I like to use a heavy skillet, but you can also use a saucepan. And I'm going to next add a little bit of olive oil. It's about 2 tablespoons of olive oil here. However, if you are on a special diet for disease reversal, your physician may have told you to stay away from oil. So in place of that, if you need to, then you can just add 2 tablespoons of water to get started for the onions and the garlic, and that will work too. Absolutely.
It works well. You know, the olive, it's ideal to get it from the olive itself, but a little bit of oil if you're in a maintenance diet, not in a reversal diet, just a small amount. Again, remember the first principle that we used, it's fresh. If the oil gets old, it starts to get rancid, and if the oil gets rancid, it starts to do disease, and that's exactly what we don't want. So we want fresh oil. You can take a look at your bottle, and you can see on your bottle when was the harvest date for that crop of olive oil, and you want to make sure that that's within this past year, right? You want to make sure it's as fresh as possible.
Okay, so I'm going to add here 1 small chopped onion and 2 peeled and chopped garlic cloves. In our family, you can never have too much garlic.
That's right. Garlic and onions are a mainstay.
That's right. So, and I'm going to get this on a medium heat and just saute the onions and garlic for several minutes until they start to get soft.
So we've been cooking the garlic and the onions together. Garlic and onions have amazing compounds in them that actually are very antibacterial, antimicrobial, meaning that they serve to be able to help us avoid disease. Right now, there is some indication they may be antiviral as well. And so we really want to use these. Another big component of this is that these are some of the strongest plant-based foods that have ever been tested to be able to help prevent cancer. So garlic and onions turns out to be a wonderful form of food that really helps us to stay healthy.
Now that we have been cooking the onions and garlic and they're starting to get soft, we're going to go ahead and add in the eggplant. Thank you. At the same time, I'm going to add in 2/3 of a cup of water. And we will go ahead and add in our seasonings. So I have a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, and a little bit of sea salt, just a sprinkle. So we'll put that in and stir that up.
So again, if you have higher blood pressure, or if you have some other issues with retaining some water, sometimes you want to watch the amount of salt intake, and you want to think about a good quality salt. There are some minerals in certain salts that are better for you than just some of the simple salts that we have available in the store. So you want your food really to be some of your medicine, and to be able to taste it and make sure that you see that this is a better way to live and a better way to cook. And when you start doing this, you start feeling better, and you start to develop a taste for better living.
Okay, we have this all mixed up.
Smells good.
I'm going to put the lid on for a few minutes so that the water will start softening the eggplant skin. And I'm going to put that down on low. We're going to leave this dish for just a few minutes, and we are going to hop over to making a salad that can accompany this as a side dish. And then we will work a little bit more on this.
That's right. While Kim's getting ready, I want to talk about the other ingredient that we're talking about that we're going to put in. We're going to put in some tomato sauce. You'll see tomatoes with that bright red. You'll see tomatoes in the salad, and you'll see tomatoes as far as the sauce that we're going to have here. Tomatoes have a wonderful component to it, a carotenoid called lutein and zeaxanthin. And both of those are really, really helpful as far as visual health, but not for visual acuity. These are for contrast. Now, a lot of the people who are watching, a lot of people who have extended days now are spending a lot of time behind a computer. And I don't know if you're spending a lot of time behind a computer. I find that I am more so nowadays. And sometimes we lose our contrast. We lose our ability to see the difference between certain shapes, right, and certain distance. And these things, these carotenoids, really help us to find that. Now, carotenoids is another pigment. And you're going to find this pigment in a few different things. You're going to find it in tomatoes. You're going to find this in orange-colored foods like the carrot that's there, in the yellow-colored foods like the bell peppers. Believe it or not, you're going to find this in greens, okay? Especially collard greens, some spinach. We have some kale today and some other options, but the greens are actually a rich source for that as well. And so I want to double back to what we were talking about, because we don't always talk about this, but fresh was important. But our second point is you have to make sure that what you're getting as far as a food not only looks good, but that it is good. Just because something looks good on the outside doesn't mean it's good on the inside. And what we mean by this is a topic we covered earlier, organic. What does organic mean? It means that it was the way that it was intended to grow, free from pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, free from processing, and chemicals that are actually toxic. Very important in certain things that you're going to eat the skin of. So anytime that you're going to eat a berry, you're going to eat the skin. Anytime you're going to eat kale, you're going to eat the skin. Tomatoes, you're going to eat the skin. So we want these in their natural form. We don't want them altered with genetic modification. We don't want these sprayed with pesticides that are going to be damaging to our bodies or damaging to our eyes. And it really helps us to remember that it's the same thing. You know, we're told not to be distracted in the times that we're living in right now. There may be things that look good on the outside, but are not good on the inside. You know, Jesus told us in Matthew 24 to watch. He told us not to be troubled. See that you're not troubled, but he also said watch and be ready. See, because there was going to be some things that were deceiving in the end times that we have to watch for. They might not be good on the inside, right? Even though they look good on the outside. So from a food standpoint and from a spiritual standpoint, we want to make sure that the food that we're getting is fresh and we get it from the source. Spiritually, we want to do the same thing. You want to go and pick that fresh from the reading in the Scripture and fresh from your prayer. So we want to taste and see that the Lord is good here, and we want to not be deceived, and we want to make sure that we get organic food, and we want to go right to the source with the Bible. So Kim, take us through right now the salad and how this is going to be healthy for our eyes. Who thought that eyes would be healthy for a salad?
Right?
salad would be healthy for our eyes. Ooh, I got to watch my turns.
So we're starting with some kale. This came from our garden, and also I know walking through some of the farmers markets right now, there's lots of kale, and there's chard, and you can certainly substitute with other greens as well. But what I have already done is I took the spines or the stems off of the kale, because sometimes they can be quite tough to eat, and so we're left with just the leaves. And I like to just get a bunch of them, kind of roll them together, and then I use some kitchen scissors to cut them into small strips. This just makes it a little easier to eat them. Like I mentioned, any green leafy vegetable is going to be really great for your vision. And sometimes you can even mix the greens together. In early spring, before the kale comes out, we have wild greens as well. We have dandelions that we often use in early spring for this salad. And of course, the dandelions have a wonderful detoxifying effect, which is wonderful after the winter.
And if you want to research, like I said, so the carotenoids that are in here are lutein and zeaxanthin, right, which is a tough one to pronounce, but it's a great one for your body. So look online, see for yourself, and you'll see that these are really, really helpful for the back part of the eye. Like I said, if you're on the computer a lot, these salads are really, really important for you to be able to maintain your vision. And also, try not to stare at the screen too much. Have breaks where you can get up, where you can walk, where you can look far, really. Because a lot of times, what we focus on too much is how our eyes will lock in, right? Another spiritual point as well. So we want to focus on things that are good and make sure that our focus can adjust.
Okay, so for this recipe, I do not have exact amounts for everything. I actually don't cook that way. It's taking me, I don't know, 2 weeks to go through some of these recipes and try to make them and figure out how much we use of what. But I would just adjust this according to how many people you are preparing your salad for. So we have the kale that we've started with. Next, we're going to add some cherry tomatoes. And I've noticed that on some of the tomato bushes, some little cherry tomatoes are just starting to turn red.
So Kim, tell us, we have our garden, and our garden has been big and beautiful because primarily my wife for a long time. But what if you live in town a little bit and you don't have as big of a plot? We've tried something here this year that's worked pretty well. Why don't you tell people about it?
Yes. You do not have to have some place in the country to be able to experiment with growing some of your own food. Here at our office, as I had mentioned before, we're in the historic district of Bath. We have added some raised beds out in the yard, as well as there are some potted tomato plants around. And already there's been some broccoli picked out of that. There's been some lettuce picked out. The tomatoes are starting to turn red, and the chard looks beautiful. Pepper plants are starting to get tiny little peppers on them. We have a variety of herbs. So even a box in the sunny windowsill is wonderful for doing, herbs or greens or microgreens. So, okay.
Get the kids involved. We got the kids involved here, and they love it.
That's right. So we're adding our tomatoes. Next, I'm going to add some Kalamata olives. I purchased these already pitted. That certainly saves you some time. And then I just cut them in half. And that's going to add a nice, healthy fat, as well as it has just a nice little bit of a salty flavor. Then I have some avocados here. I had to cut these earlier before we started work today, so I put a little bit of lemon juice on them to keep them from turning color. So if you're not serving your salad right away, squeezing some lemon on those will keep them from turning brown. Then we have just a little bit of purple onion that was sliced really fine. Here again, we talked earlier about the importance of having the onions and the garlic in your meal. And then we're adding some organic bell peppers. I know at Shaw's anyway, you can purchase a red, yellow, and orange pepper together in a small bag at the organic section. And so I took about a quarter of each one of those peppers, and boy, this just makes a beautiful, beautiful rainbow of a salad. So I'll mix that in some. And then I'm going to take our carrot and a vegetable peeler. I've already washed and peeled the carrot once. But we'll just add some long strips into your bowl. I find it's a little easier to eat them this way than to chop them up. So add some carrots. And then we're going to skip a pre-made salad dressing and add half of a fresh lemon. That's just squeezed juice. We're going to do a sprinkle of olive oil. And there again, if you're on a disease reversal diet, you can just skip the olive oil altogether. But put a little bit of oil on there. Just a sprinkle of sea salt. Yeah, a touch of nutritional yeast. And we're going to toss that together.
So let's talk about some of the benefits of each one of these things, because there's something to learn in all of these. We talked about some of the greens. A lot of people talk to me, hey, Dr. Zack, what about protein? I want to make sure I'm getting enough protein. And you'll notice that it doesn't appear that we're getting protein, but we actually are. We're getting protein and we're getting healthy fats. 97% of the vegans in America get enough protein. What 97% of most Americans don't get is fiber. And it turns out actually fiber is more important in our country than protein. So we're getting the fiber, and believe it or not, in each one of these vegetables, there's going to be a combination of a healthy protein, of a healthy carbohydrate, and of a healthy fat. The healthy fats that we had were the olives and the avocados, and those have some omega-3s in those. And omega-3 are essential fatty acids that are going to decrease inflammation, but they're also going to help with decreasing our risk for cataracts and decreasing our risk for pressure. They drain our eyes really, really effectively, and they make sure that we don't have dry eye at the same time. So it's amazing to be able to have these, and they're very restorative to tissues. Now, we did that, but then we also then added some other things here. We added the nutritional yeast, and some people do well in this and some people don't. Be careful about how you do your nutritional yeast, but it's a nice source of vitamin B12. And B12, again, for the eyes and for vision. B complex, really, really important. You've got some of the B's and the greens, but you've got some of the nutritional yeast. The last thing that we're going to add here are seeds. Now, these are powerhouses. You really want to have a lot of seeds in your diet. Pumpkin seeds especially, why do I like these? They're packed with magnesium, and they're packed with another thing that really helps with your vision, and that's zinc, right? I sell supplements here sometimes for people, for pilots, since I'm the flight doc in the area, that really don't have the ability to get food healthy. Remember that food is the first thing that you want to get. But sometimes if you can't, well, you have to choose some supplements. Get good quality supplements. But zinc, lutein, zeaxanthin, and some of the other ones that we talked about, the flavonoids, are in the supplements that I have. And they're great to get as a second choice. But remember, it's just like reading in the Bible. You want to get it firsthand. That's where it really has the difference. Because what we're learning is when you put this together, it has more of an effect together than it does individually. So the salad looks great, Kim.
Thank you. So I really believe that food should be beautiful as well as taste good.
Absolutely.
So this time of the year, in the growing season, I like to add edible flowers to my food. So I have some little pansies here. And you always want to make sure if you're going to use flowers in cooking that you know what they are and have identified them. So I'd like to put these on the top. I also love to use nasturtiums. They're so lovely, and they have a nice peppery taste to them when added to salads or to sandwiches. Or borage flowers are really pretty as well. So here we go.
We got the purple theme
There's
in there. It
our
looks
the purple
fantastic.
theme going.
These Johnny Jump Ups are hard to get because my son eats them all before we get to them.
That's right.
But they are very, very tasty. I never grew up eating flowers, but I realized through my wife and through learning that there are some good flowers to eat. How are we doing on the eggplant?
We're going to jump back over to our eggplant dish and take a look. This is wonderful. Let's turn the heat back on. This is getting nice and soft now. Okay, now our eggplant the skin is really nice and hot. We are going to add a jar of organic pasta sauce. And I like to add a little bit of water to the jar after. Put the lid on and shake it up to make sure you get as much of the sauce out as possible. Don't want to waste any.
That's right. Oh, that smells good.
Okay, and then we'll stir that in and just leave it on simmer for a few minutes until it's nice and hot. So as I mentioned, this is a very versatile sauce. You can put it on whole grain pasta. You can put it on brown rice. It's really good. Make a rice bowl and put some greens on the side. You can put it on whole grain toast. We actually had it that way for lunch today. We had it on toast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of like a sloppy joe, eggplant sloppy joe. All right. And then we'll pour it over the... Yeah. Ready to pour that over the pasta?
Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
Now, this is cast iron cookware. It's quite easy to get. It's not expensive. And a lot of times you can find these. People don't want them because they're heavy. But I'll tell you, having a little bit of iron sometimes in your food is a great source of getting it daily in your diet. And so if you're in a situation where you need to make sure that you're getting quality iron in your diet, this is a simple and a good way to do it. The nice thing about this too is that the cast iron, if you season them, are pretty naturally nonstick. So you don't need to get nonstick, and the concern with nonstick is it's one of those things that we talked about again. We said, get the food fresh, make sure that it's healthy on the inside and the outside, right? Well, your cookware, that's important too also. Because nonstick cookware, heated to high temperature, actually becomes a little bit unstable, and some of the chemical bonds can break, and it can affect your health. So nonstick is really not the best choice. Stick with some of the classic ones that we've had for a long period of time. We've got stainless steel, we've got cast iron, some of the porcelain cookware, all very stable, very good to cook with, and they last a long time.
Okay, and there we have it. And if you happen to have some fresh basil in your garden, you can cut a little bit of fresh basil on top, or a little garnish with a little bit of parsley. But we would serve this for a meal with a side of the salad there. So I hope that you will experiment, because even with the salad, like you can add different nuts, you can add different seeds. There's all kinds of things that you can do for variations with any of these recipes. With the parfait that we did, we've done that with berries, but sometimes we've done that with strawberries and kiwi, or with other fruits to mix that up some. So, and especially if you have children, let them help out in the kitchen, help them come up with some ideas on what they would like to try and some different variations. If you even want to set up like a small salad bar with all the different ingredients out and let everybody have their own salad bowl and mix up the salad bowl, that's a lot of fun that we've done with our teenagers as well.
It is. Have fun with this. Food is supposed to be fun. When you look at what God has created, look at the colors, the vibrance, the fun, the smells. It's supposed to be a great experience. And as you do it together, you start to build in that community experience. Now, to maintain your vision, it's really important to realize where vision spiritually comes from. And we're told in Revelation that we're counseled actually by Jesus to buy eyesol from him. He says, if you really want to see, if you want to see who God is, if you want to see what's real, what's true, what's good, go to God. Ask of Jesus. We're told also to look unto the author and the finisher of our faith. We're told to behold him. Because when you behold something this beautiful, I'll tell you, I'm hungry right now. This looks fantastic. Our camera person here, Joseph, I think I see him. He's pretty hungry too, right? And we're having fun together. And we're told to be able to do this. When you really take a look at the face of God, you see a beautiful image. And it's something that compels you to be like that. And I want to end today with just a reminder that as we behold God, we become like God. He comes into us and he changes us. He changes that inside that we were talking about from something that may have been damaged here. He changes our vision from something that may have been damaged to something that's beautiful. That's really what we want to focus on. So I encourage you to, like it says in Psalms 34, taste and see that the Lord is good. We'd be glad that you did. We wish you were here with us. We got plenty of food. We'd love to share it. If you want to contact us here at Dayspring, feel free to. You can contact us through the conference. You can contact us here directly. And Kim, would you like to end with a prayer with any passing thoughts?
Yes, let's thank God. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the bounty and the beautiful food that you have provided for us. We pray that we will eat not only for the physical sight, but for spiritual insight, that as we prepare for your coming, that we will be found ready to meet you. In the meantime, no matter what happens around us, may we keep our eyes on you.
Amen.
We thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
We hope you enjoyed today. Please come visit us if you have more questions. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for joining us. Bon appetit.